She is, of course, the daughter of Robert Kennedy, one of the daughters of Robert Kennedy, and she joins us right now. Kerry, thank you. How are you?
I'm just fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm okay. Please, I haven't heard anybody from the Kennedy family react to what happened yesterday. What's your reaction to the?
Well, I think it's just really a shame for the people of Massachusetts to replace such a great leader as Teddy with Scott Brown, and I think that it's going to be very detrimental to our country. But I think the reaction I've seen to this is really seeing it through a very national lens. And as Tip O'Neill always said, all politics is local. And I think this was really a local race and actually had nothing to do with health care at all.
Well, there's a Politico poll there where they did the exit polls, and they showed that almost 50% of the people say that they did vote for Scott Brown to stop the Obama health care plan. And also, Scott Brown will tell you, as his strategists have, that he ran on the issue of terrorism as well, and talked about how he favors waterboarding and he favors harsh treatment for the terrorists as enemy combatants, not giving them a lawyer. There was stark differences, and he ran. He ran. I mean, what local issues did he run on, really? He ran on national issues of interest to the people of Massachusetts that appealed to independents overwhelmingly, I think.
I don't think this was so much about Scott Brown as it was about Martha Coakley, and she's a candidate who believed that as soon as the primary was over, that her campaign was over. She went on an extended vacation. She said that she didn't want to fight hard. She said, I don't want to go shake hands in Fenway Park because it's too cold. And she wasn't raising money in those last months. I think that what happened is that the people of Massachusetts want a fighter for them and want somebody who's listening to them and is aware of their issues. And I think that what the Republicans did right here is that they heard that people are angry, people are scared, they've lost jobs, and people are skeptical about the economy, and they want to hear that jobs are what is going to be the priority. I think Scott Brown really talked a lot about that, and people reacted to it.
Was that not an extension, though, of Obama's agenda and the Democrats' agenda in Washington?
Well, I think Obama's agenda is jobs, jobs, jobs as well. So I think that in many ways he was mimicking Obama when he talked about those issues. And I think most politicians today are talking about the economy because that's what people want to hear about. And Martha, unfortunately, was really kind of silent and not very visible those last crucial days. So I think this is really much more about her and her candidacy and people's real anger and their real fear today after and during this terrible economy, which was handed to us by the Bush administration.
Kerry, Scott Brown said that he called Ted's wife and he had praise for your uncle. What would your uncle think? What would your uncle have thought of her campaign? What would your uncle
I think that it's always dangerous to say what he would think, but I think, it's clear that Teddy devoted his life to helping people who are in trouble and to helping on international human rights issues, on justice issues, assuring that we have a strong Supreme Court and federal judiciary, and on civil rights, et cetera. And that's what he devoted his life to, and I think that's probably what he would like to see our Congress and our Senate doing today.
So would you say she ran a kind of a really crappy campaign? How would you describe it?
Well, I think it was ineffective, and I think that she didn't say, I'm a fighter and I'll fight for you. I don't think that she made that clear for people. So I think that this was really much more about her and her candidacy, and it wasn't really about Scott Brown either. It was really about her. She was the front runner. She she was the person everyone was looking to, and they were disappointed with what they saw.
How did they let that happen? How did the people around her, how did the White House, how did the Democratic machine, quote unquote, in Massachusetts, how did they let her behave that way?
You know, that's an interesting question. I think that part of the issue is that candidates are really responsible for their own races. And there's only so much the DNC can do and the White House can do. You know, President Obama went up there this last weekend, stood with her, and I think he did what he could. But on the other hand, she wasn't calling for help very early. She was not. She was out on vacation. You know, she wasn't raising money. She wasn't out there shaking hands. She went to 16 events where Brown went to 60 of them. I mean, she was just a non-candidate.
And she thought Kurt Schilling was a Yankee fan.
Right. So I don't think that she was really very in touch with the people.
All right, so one more for you, Kerry.
I think that's what happened.
If it were a different candidate that won the primary, you think the results would have been different?
Absolutely. I think that if almost any one of the Democrats in the congressional delegation had won that primary, we would have seen a very, very different campaign.
All right. Listen, Kerry, I really appreciate your time. Thank you. I know you're going to an event. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Kerry Kennedy, ladies and gentlemen, the daughter of Robert Kennedy, and blaming Coakley. Blaming Coakley. Yeah, she was a pretty, god-awful candidate. There's no doubt about that. But you can't say that Scott Brown didn't run against Obama, didn't run against – he was the 41st vote against Obama's agenda. That's what he ran as. And he won independents overwhelmingly, who feel the same way. They wanted that 41st vote. So I disagree with Kerry, but it's interesting. 1-800-321-8828 right here on the Steve Malzberg Show.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 120,000 miles.